The Motorola Razr is synonymous with the 2000s and was considered one of the best flip phones in the market. It was meant to be the stylish phone with its sleek and slender design. The Razr was briefly featured in iconic movies such as Mean Girls and The Devil Wears Prada. It was the cell phone that all the girls wanted. If you had a Razr, you were one of the it girls. And while most would imagine the pink version of the Razr, it came in a variety of colors to appeal to a larger demographic. When I was about 11 or 12, my mom had a dark pink one, and my uncle had the dark gray one. But the Razr's iconic design wasn't the only thing that I have fond memories of. The Motorola Razr also had the catchiest ringtones that ever existed. In my childhood adolescence, one of my favorite things to do with a cell phone was listen to its ringtones because they were just that good. Let me tell you, cell phone companies do not make ringtones like they used to. A lot of these 15 to 30 second tracks were earworms and sounded like they could be from a video game. Additionally, each ringtone felt like it had its own vibe and personality. One of the first things I did when I got my first cell phone was assign a specific ringtone to each of my contacts. I can't be the only one who did that, right? In the age of smartphones and the rise and fall of the minimalist aesthetic, I'd find myself going on YouTube and searching up my favorite Motorola Razr ringtones just to listen to it for old time's sake. And as I've read the comments, it gave me an idea to make a video about it and talk about my favorite memories of certain tunes and how much I love them. As we listen to these catchy ringtones, there are two predominant YouTube channels that I will be leveraging, and they are Tech Product Bangers, along with its sister channel, Underrated Bangers. There is also this website called Phone Tones, which is a collaborative effort from all of these people listed on the screen. And they have archived countless ringtones from the past. I am highly grateful that these people have dedicated their time and effort to preserve and share these works of art and prevent it from being completely lost to time. Not to sound dramatic, but this is a piece of our 2000s history. Please check out everyone involved, and be sure to listen to all of the other nostalgic tunes from various brands. This video is really to pay homage to the Motorola Razr and its iconic ringtones. Motorola created a piece of iconography, not just through the product, but through the music, and the novel experience you got just by listening to it. So I will cover the ringtones that I remember the most. And with each track, I will try to share the arrangers, composers, and other background information that's available. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the composers for quite a few of these, but I will be sure to specify that for each ringtone. Majority of the information I got was from Tech Product Bangers. I also tried researching through musician-specific forums and databases such as Discogs and AllMusic, but didn't have much luck tracking this missing information. All the more reason that archive channels like Tech Product Bangers are so crucial because they prevent a lot of obscure but valuable media from being lost forever. So once again, please check them out and subscribe. One more thing, I realized that this is my first non-video game related video for the channel, and I sort of struggled on what kind of content I should have in the background while you listen to the narration and the music. Content that covers video games is pretty straightforward. You use the gameplay footage associated with that video game. But with this topic, I genuinely wasn't sure how to go about editing the video. I got the idea to showcase old Motorola Razr commercials while we listened to the music. But there's not many commercials out there to cover the entire video. So I thought, why not make this a full-blown 2000s core aesthetic type of video? So I added all the things that were memorable and special to me in the 2000s. In other words, you're going to see a lot of Mario and Sonic. I also really want this video to truly be a celebration of art, so I'm doing another artist spotlight, and you'll see some really amazing work while watching this video. And who knows? You might recognize some familiar faces. With all of that out of the way, sit back, relax, and let's jam out to 20-second ringtones from the 2000s. Of course, we have to start off with Motorola's signature Hello Moto Ringtone. This legendary tune was composed in 2003 by Connor O'Sullivan, and at the time of making this video, you can listen to it on Connor's SoundCloud. Hello Moto was the default ringtone for many Motorola phones back in the day. This ringtone is so memorable that nearly any 2000s kids could recognize it from a mile away.
Hello, Moto.
I mean, what can I say? This ringtone was iconic. It sounded so futuristic to me as a kid, and in a way, Hello Moto was my Frutiger era when it came to high-tech and cutting-edge music. Thank you, Connor. By the off chance you just so happened to be watching, your music, your art was a part of my adolescence, along with so many other people out there. And I hope you know that, and I hope you are living your best life. Chain Link. Here is another ringtone that was composed by Connor O'Sullivan. This was also composed in 2003. I'm not sure which Motorola phone this was a ringtone for, but it sounds like it could be a boss theme, or the part of the game where you only have a limited amount of time left, and you have to reach the end of the level as fast as you can. It sounds really good. You can find this ringtone on Connor's SoundCloud as well. Clouds. While this wasn't my favorite ringtone, it would be a tune that I would listen to quite a bit. If I remember correctly, this was on my mom's and uncle's Razrs, but I don't think it was on mine. Sadly, I couldn't find any background information on this track, so if you happen to know the composers, please let me know in the comments. It sounds so mysterious and soothing at the same time. In a way, it reminds me of World 7's music from New Super Mario Bros. DS, which coincidentally is the sky level. As a kid, I think I really liked how calming the ringtone was, but it also sounded cool to me. Power Surge. Another ringtone I'd listened to a lot when I was a kid. Sadly, I couldn't find any background information on this one, but I know it had to be a part of the V3 line because my uncle had it on his phone. Very bouncy and upbeat. It sounds like a video game power-up. It sort of reminds me of the Invincibility music from the Sonic Advance trilogy, but a lot more funky. Ambient Mood. Now, this is a ringtone I didn't listen to very much as a kid. However, one of our featured artists, Sophie Laurel, has a very special connection to this particular ringtone. So, of course we have to listen to it. It sounds so soothing and tranquil, but also very pretty and delicate. Sophie told me that she got a black Razr, and at some point her family had moved homes, and she felt homesick during that period of her life. and she would listen to Ambient Mood. And even though it felt sad, it also brought back warm memories of her old home. And I just think that is really beautiful. It's just another example of how we all have these specific memories associated with these ringtones. So, thank you, Sophie, for sharing that with me and letting me share this with my audience too. Ambient. Yes, just ambient. I had this one on my phone. This ringtone is pretty underrated. In fact, while I started my search, I did not find a high quality version of this ringtone floating around on YouTube. And I couldn't find any background information on it either. But I was able to find it through phone tones, which I have linked within the Google Doc listed in the description. While it wasn't a go-to for me, I really enjoyed this ringtone as a kid. It's chill, it's relaxing, and it also kind of reminds me of Drybone's victory theme from Mario Strikers Charged. It could probably go viral on TikTok. Maybe. I mean, a lot of these ringtones could go viral on TikTok. Fashion. Here's another tune that I enjoyed listening to. This is another ringtone that I found outside of YouTube. With that said, I couldn't find any background information on it. It was definitely on my phone, but I don't remember if it was on my mom's or uncle's. I don't know why, but when I was a kid, this track would make me think of Princess Daisy for some reason. I think it's because it sounds very peppy, but also simultaneously flashy and sophisticated. I really liked it a lot. Next, we have Motion, formerly known as Trippin' Rhythm. It was originally composed by Paul Hardcastle, and this rendition we're about to listen to was arranged by Bunny Knudsen in 2005. I actually assigned this ringtone specifically to one of my uncles because of how energetic and outgoing it sounded, and I thought it suited him really well. So every time I listen to this ringtone, I can't help but think about my uncle. Sensation. This was on my phone, so it definitely came with the Razr V3s. Unfortunately, I could not find any background information on this one, but if anyone happens to know, you know the drill. Very jazzy. It sounds sort of similar to Motion. While this wasn't a ringtone I played a lot, I still thought it was pretty cool as a kid. Digital Signal. This was specifically on my mom's pink Razr, and it is one that I would play over and over again. Sadly, this is another ringtone where I couldn't find any background information on it, which sucks because I love this ringtone, and it would be cool to know who composed it. It's very energetic and snazzy, and I always loved jamming out to it. I would just hold my mom's pink phone up to my ear and listen to it as long as I could get away with having my mom's phone. To me, it sounds like music that would play in a City Hub World stage, which is something you're going to hear me say a lot. In fact, the next three ringtones are snazzy City Hub World music to me. Radiance. One of my favorites. Fun fact, the original title for this tune was called Twilight Magic, and this ringtone has appeared on multiple Motorola Razr V3 lines since 2004. Depending on which V3 Razr you had, it was either composed by Jeff Newman, John Epping, and Ty Artis, and arranged by Keith Manners, or it was composed by Gerard Gnarls, George Rader, Bodo Schaff, and arranged by Bunny Knudsen. I sincerely apologize if I mispronounced any of those names. I will play both versions because they are different, and of course because they're both really good. Okay, so I'm not very good at talking about the anatomy of music, so bear with me. What's really interesting is how both versions emphasize different instruments and melodies, if that makes sense. Bunny Knudsen's version draws attention to the bass and has jazzier elements to it, while the synths and violins are more pronounced in Keith Manners' version, and makes it more in line with a video game. But I really love both versions. This isn't just any city hub world theme sounding ringtone. This gives glamorous city vibes. It's flashy and extravagant, hence the name Radiance. It always felt so invigorating listening to this as a kid, and I still feel that way today. Nocturne. I know this ringtone from the Razr V3 line. It was composed by Klaus Stulin and arranged by Keith Manners in 2004 and was originally titled Calm and Cool. If you are an avid viewer of mine, this tune might sound familiar if you watched my Barbie video earlier this year. I decided to add this as background music as a little Easter egg. Yes, I have Easter eggs in my videos and posts, and I've been waiting for someone to catch on to it, but it hasn't happened yet. Please consider watching my Barbie video. I worked really hard on it, and it's one of my favorites. Okay, back on track. Like Radiance, I always felt this tune could fit perfectly with a glamorous city hub world in a video game, but like a more low-key and relaxing location. It actually reminds me a little bit of Central City from Sonic Battle. Underrated Bangers describes it as a pretty good jazzy hip-hop ringtone, which I couldn't agree with more. I love the jazz influences in this track. Exotic. The last City Hub World theme sounding ringtone on this list. It was originally composed by Drew Milligan and Stuart Roslin. The version I'm about to play is on the Razr V3 and was arranged by Bunny Knudsen in 2004. It's worth noting that the original title is called Departure Lounge. I do remember listening to this one every once in a while. I still really like it and find it relaxing to listen to. This could probably play in the shopping district of the City Hub world in this imaginary game I have in my head. New Flow. This one is a very perky, very Vogue, very camp kind of ringtone. It was composed by Nick Tidy in 2005. It's worth noting that the original title is called Security. Why, you ask? Well, you're about to find out.
Give me security. Give me security.
Give me security. That is so cunt. This ringtone was on my Razr, and while I didn't play it as much as the others, I was definitely quite amused by its sassy tune. Next, we have Hyperactive. This is another one that I would play on repeat. It's a very lively and energetic track. Based on the information I was able to find, it first debuted in the 2004 Motorola E398, and it was originally composed by Aaron Wheeler and arranged by Keith Manners. But this was also a ringtone for the Razr, depending on which V3 line you had. It sounds very exhilarating, and it was such an earworm for me. I remember putting the phone next to my ear and just jamming out to this tune over and over again. The original title for this ringtone is called Still Risin', which I think is pretty fitting. Urban. My search for a lost ringtone. This was a ringtone that I had on my Razr that I would listen to quite a bit. And on a random, rare day, this short little song would emerge from my core memories and play in my head, kind of like an Inside Out. This wasn't just any ringtone. It actually had lyrics to it. Let's give it a listen.
We're gonna be alright. You call on your telephone. You call whenever you're alone. Since I took you into my heart, we've got each other. We're gonna be alright.
When I was making this video, I had such a hard time finding this ringtone, and I was worried that it was lost forever. I vividly remember the lyrics, but could not remember the exact title. And for the longest time, I thought it was called Be Alright, and that's why I had such trouble finding it. Turns out the ringtone is just called Urban. But I am so glad I was able to find it in time and share it here. What an uplifting tune. We've got each other. We're gonna be alright. Sky Blue. Another mysterious and catchy sounding tune. The original title was called Interstellar, and it was composed by Tom Kane and Colin Baldry and arranged by Keith Manners. Sky Blue made its appearance in the 2004 Razr V3 line. I feel like this one is quite underrated in comparison to the other ringtones. This track was on my phone, and while I didn't listen to it as much as the others, I still liked the dark and mysterious vibe of this tune. Illumination. I loved this ringtone as a kid, and I still love it now. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any background information on this ringtone, but I at least know that this was on the Razr V3 because I had it along with my mom and uncle. It goes without saying, but I played this ringtone on repeat until my phone hit low battery. Very mysterious and nostalgic to listen to, but listening to it now as an adult, there's something somber about the tune as well. It sounds like it could be a game over theme or represent an end of a grueling chapter. Spooky. This is a classic ringtone. It was composed in 2002 by Nicholas Dobson. This was not in the Motorola Razrs that my mom or uncle had, but technically, you could get this ringtone through Groove Tunes for your Motorola Razr, so I'm going to count this one. Also, this was one of my favorites as a kid, so I have to show it. Before my mom got her pink Razr, she had a singular cell phone, and I would play and listen to the ringtones whenever I got the chance. I don't remember how old I was when this amazing tune blessed my ears for the first time, but I'm 90% sure I was 11, and I specifically enjoyed this ringtone because it reminded me of Boo from Mario. If you've watched my 2007 Mario retrospective, you know that I had a huge Boo phase in my preteen years. I was crazy obsessed with Boo. I love Boo, he's so cute. My favorite Mario enemy, hands down. One thing I learned from the Tech Product Bangers channel is that Spooky was one of Motorola's most popular and most downloaded ringtones back in the 2000s. No surprise there, this ringtone is fire. Ah yes, Moonlit Haze. This was one of my personal favorites, and apparently it was other people's favorites as well. This iconic tune was originally composed in 2003 by Colin Baldry and Tom Kane. I'm playing the Razr V3 rendition, which was arranged by Bunny Knutson. Check it out. Ugh, I love it. It's very dark and mysterious. Now, I have a specific story with Moonlit Haze. Me, my abuela, and sister were visiting my uncle, the same uncle who I assigned the motion ringtone to. I don't remember if it was during spring break or the summer of 2008, but it was around that time frame. So I was 12 years old and obsessed with Super Mario Galaxy. I selected Moonlit Haze as my ringtone on my uncle's phone because that was my favorite at the time. I think this happened at least a couple days into our visit. I was sleeping on the couch, and I randomly woke up and looked at my phone, and it was around 5 to 5:30 in the morning. And of course, I was having a hard time falling back asleep and was very bored. I don't know what possessed my 12-year-old brain, but for whatever reason, I thought it would be funny to send a text message to my uncle at this time. And when my uncle would wake up a few hours later, he could see my message. So I pulled out my flip phone, And I think all I texted was, "Hi, Eddie," and then I hit send. A few seconds later, I was mortified to hear Moonlit Haze play so loud from my uncle's phone across the hall. My 12-year-old self didn't think my uncle would leave the ringer on at night. I thought he would put his phone on silent because that's what you do before you go to bed, so you're not waking up to any text messages or phone calls. And my uncle kept his phone outside of his room, I guess to motivate him to get up easier when he wakes up in the mornings or to limit distractions when he goes to sleep. So I heard my uncle get up. I'm pretty sure he sweared under his breath a little bit. Understandably so, I would have done the same. Internally, I'm panicking. I quickly move the blanket over my head and I'm pretending to be asleep, hoping that my uncle doesn't get mad at me. The next few minutes were silent, and I thought he was going to say something. But then he went back to his room and closed the door. So I was partially relieved, and eventually I did fall back asleep and woke up a few hours later. The next morning, I woke up to a text message from my uncle that said something along the lines of, "Hi, Mandy, let's try to go back to sleep." I thought I was going to be in so much trouble. But to my surprise, my Uncle Eddie found himself enlightened by the situation, even though it was annoying that I woke him up. He told me that this was the first text message that he had ever sent, which is honestly crazy to think about. But you have to remember, back then, texting was sort of an inconvenience on flip phones for people that were my parents' and uncle's age, and would normally call instead. It took him a while to figure it out, but he eventually got the text message sent, and in a way, he was sort of thankful that I woke him up early because he learned something new. But that's just my uncle. He's always open-minded to learning new things, and he's really cool. But yeah, that's my little story for Moonlit Haze, a ringtone that means so much to me. And I'm so curious to know if you have specific stories for that ringtone as well. Last but certainly not least, Waves. I loved this ringtone so much. This was on my Uncle Eddie's phone, and whenever he would visit from out of town, I would ask to borrow his phone and play this over and over again. I even recorded it on my own phone just so I could constantly listen to it, despite the poor audio quality. While I was researching for this video, I learned that Waves was originally titled Can You Fly and was composed by Adam Salkold. I also snuck this track in my Barbie video as a little Easter egg. Out of all of the ringtones in this list, Waves is definitely the most nostalgic to me. If you asked me to pick a ringtone that best represented my childhood summers, it would be this one. Enough hyping it up, let's listen. Oh, that was so good. Can we listen to it again? Let's do it. Oh, the memories. This ringtone definitely reminds me of simpler times. All of the summers and spring breaks that I would spend with my uncle and my abuela and my best friend. It's catchy, it's serene, it's mesmerizing. It's a ringtone that would always cheer me up every time I listen to it. But there's also something bittersweet about it. It's like it represents the end of a chapter, or the music you'd hear when you reach the credits of a life-changing movie. But even though it's the end of a chapter or movie or series finale, it also feels like there are better times ahead. Waves is really special to me, and I'm so glad that I'm not the only one who had these fond, nostalgic memories of this tune. This next one isn't a ringtone per se, but a sound that has emerged from my core memories. Does anyone remember the Gold Razr? Well, in late 2005, Motorola partnered with Dolce and Gabbana to make this iconic piece of gaudy history. It is a gold-plated razor, and when you turn the phone on or off, it would play the most heavenly music, and then you'd hear this low, deep voice say, Dolce Gabbana.
Dolce Gabbana. Dolce Gabbana.
I'm telling you, they just don't make stuff like this anymore. Yes, I am aware that Dolce & Gabbana have their share of controversies, and understandably, many would consider them to be problematic, but I would like to share my history with the Gold Razr. So, when I started the 6th grade, my mom realized that it was probably time for me to get a cell phone, since the other kids had one, and I'd now be taking the bus to school instead of my parents driving me. For a while, I was using my abuela's cell phone, and my mom realized that wasn't feasible because my abuela still needed a phone too. So she took me to the T-Mobile store, and I really wanted a Razr phone so bad. Not only would I have a device where I could chat and text my own friends within the 200-minute limit, because back then, plans had limits to the amount of texts and minutes you could use per month. Otherwise, they'd charge you extra. But I would also have the coolest, most stylish, most amazing cell phone ever, with the best ringtones. So, while we were there, my goal was to walk out with a Motorola Razr cell phone. My mom was talking to one of the sales associates, and then my eyes spotted the Gold Razr. I could not believe it. It was like I discovered fire for the first time. I went up to my mom with big pleading puppy dog eyes and was like, "Please, Mom, please, 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 I will do anything. I will be the best kid. I will be a good sister. I'll try my best in school. I'll clean the bathrooms and do all the chores. Please, Mom, pretty please." And my mom gave in to the pleading and said, "All right, we'll get it." Yes, I know, I was very spoiled. But the one catch was the store we went to did not have any Gold Razrs in stock. But another location did, and we had to wait for, I think, 2 to 3 hours. But I was willing and determined to stick it through. And bless my mom, she also stuck it through with me when she didn't have to. She could have said, "Mandy, no, let's just pick another phone." And looking back as an adult, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mom. I love you. To distract myself, I just looked at all the other phones on display. But those felt like the longest hours ever. And when you're that young, waiting for something felt like an eternity. But my patience paid off, and it came. My first ever cell phone. I don't exactly remember what package I got. It definitely wasn't the golden Dolce & Gabbana box, but I do remember the Moto manual with the Dolce & Gabbana logo. Sadly, I don't have that manual or any of the packaging anymore. It got lost with some of the other video game manuals that I kept as a kid. But when I took the phone out of the box, my eyes glimmered at the beautiful golden Razr. It was brand new and it was all mine. After charging it, the first thing I did was start listening to the ringtones. Sadly, Waves was not on there, but I really enjoyed all the other ringtones and of course would spend my time listening to them. While I had that Razr, I used this website called Mixer to get free ringtones for my phone. I got the Rainbow Road theme from Mario Kart DS. I downloaded Dimentio's theme and final boss music from Super Paper Mario. I was also really obsessed with the Pussycat Dolls at the time and made a ton of ringtones from their songs. I loved that phone so much, and I stuck with it for a long time, until summer of 2011, which by then, people were already transitioning to smartphones. I still have my gold Razr with me, and I also have my mom's pink Razr. Sadly, I no longer have the phone chargers, so I can't use them, but of course I'll keep them around as a nice memento. As I made this video, I'm really happy that my mom and uncle were patient enough to let me take their phones and play these ringtones at full volume. I'm really glad that my mom let me have that gold Razr as my first official cell phone. If all that never happened, I don't think this video would exist. I don't think I would have been able to appreciate this piece of art so many years later. I especially would not be able to make this video if it weren't for channels like Tech Product Bangers and Underrated Bangers, and anyone else who spends their time preserving obscure media from being lost forever. So, thank you for your time and your passion. I greatly appreciate it. Before we wrap things up, I want to take the time to thank and shout out all of the amazing artists and content creators who allowed me to feature their work in this video. This first artist you may recognize as the creator of the iconic A Day with Bowser Jr. series, but he also has his own animated series called Jubilogs. That's right, it's the nerdy cartoonist himself, Danny Waving. I remember watching A Day with Bowser Jr. for the first time in 2011 and just being so captivated by the comedic writing and storytelling. And to see Danny grow as an animator and storyteller and go on to create Jubilogs is just so cool. The animation is spectacular. The characters are so expressive, and Lumen is so lovable. I just want to hug him. And in an age where we're getting all of these reboots and sequels that don't live up to the original shows and movies that we loved, we need independent animation and media now more than ever. And I'm really happy that Danny is continuing this. And I am very much looking forward to episode 4. Of course, Danny Waving is on YouTube, but you can also follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And he also has his own Discord server. Next we have Sophie Laurel. Her work really suits the Ambient Mood vibe, especially this one where Sonic tells Shadow, "Maybe I was born to meet you." Ooh, I got chills. And of course, I have to gush over Sonic and Shadow running past the infamous "You Need This" wedding ring billboard from Shadow the Hedgehog. Also, Sophie has her own fan comic about Leo and Cassandra from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is so cute and sweet and funny and just gives me the fuzzy feelings. Definitely check it out. You can find Sophie on Twitter, Tumblr, and Blue Sky. This next collection of art was done by Fuji, aka Silver Rowan, who you might recognize as one of the featured artists from the Sonato Iceberg. And their work is absolutely spectacular. Not to make this about Sonic, because Fuji is also involved in other fandoms like Final Fantasy, but they always nail the expressions in their Sonic artwork. I really love their artwork of Shadow. You can find Silver Rowan on Twitter and Blue Sky, and he also has a Tumblr under the name Elite Silver Rowan. And at the time of making this video, they are currently open for commissions, which I highly recommend. Next we have not Total Drama, but Toadal Drama, produced and directed by Kyle Lazorko. This series has been around on YouTube since the early 2010s, and Kyle has transformed it into more than just a Total Drama Island parody. He has put so much love and dedication into the show. The brilliant writing and sheer amount of detail really shines through in every episode. If you haven't watched it, please check it out. Of course, you can find total drama on YouTube, but you can also stay updated through Twitter, TikTok, and their Discord server. You can also follow Kyle's personal account on Twitter as well. This underground, elusive artist is my good friend, Chelsea. This piece that she's been working on is called Rubbish. It really dives into the surrealism, and the shading is so precise. It's almost as if you could pull the object out of the painting. I'm really proud of Chelsea for putting herself out there, and I can't wait to see what other works she'll share in the future. I'm really grateful to have her in my life. This past year, Chelsea and I have spent countless working sessions together where she would be painting and I would be working on my videos. That was our way of pushing each other and holding ourselves accountable while we were trying to manage and work through our jobs. She was there while I was in the process of recording voiceovers for the Sonato Iceberg video. I remember one Saturday, we were on a Discord call for nearly 4 hours. She was painting, I was in my closet recording voiceovers, and I know for me, I did not want to do it. I just wanted to lay in bed, but we pushed through and we did it. We got so much done that day. Times when I was burnt out and exhausted, she gave me the encouragement to keep going. So, thank you, Chelsea. You can follow her on Instagram at Chelsea Eats Paint. We also have Gotta Go Blast. I met Blast through the Sonato fandom, but she is also active in the Has Been Hotel fandom, and her Alistair art in particular is top notch. Like, it literally could be a screenshot from the show itself. She also made the thumbnail artwork for my Barbie video, and she just nailed the Secret Agent Barbie aesthetic. You can follow Blast on Twitter, Tumblr, and Blue Sky. She also has a YouTube channel where she posts her animations, so be sure to check her out and subscribe. Last but not least, we have the brilliant Cloudy Shine, a Mephiles the Dark connoisseur and appreciator. This was the very first artwork I saw from Cloudy, and I've just been obsessed ever since. Those gloves sure do look familiar. I also love how she draws Infinite. He's so pretty. You know, I just love Infinite and Mephiles. Look at them. They're so cute. Oh my gosh, I love the little heels. Mephiles, laying in bed, having a self-care night with his pink switch, pink robe, and pink headband is probably my favorite work from Cloudy so far. Honestly, Mephiles, same. Cloudy is the most active on Instagram, but you could also find her on Twitter and Blue Sky. Thank you all again for letting me feature your wonderful work. I really want to emphasize to my audience that many of these artists, they go to work or they go to school while balancing their personal life, and they still make that time to create. And it is so hard to just do it all, and I don't want that to go unnoticed, especially when we take comfort in their work now more than ever. I don't think we as a society take the time to vocalize how important and impactful art is to us. And what I really want to tell these artists and content creators, what you all do has impacted the lives of so many people. So many people have found comfort and enjoyment through your content. You have brightened up people's days, even during the darkest of times. Well, at least for me. So, thank you for being brave and putting yourself out there. While I occasionally wish I could go back to a simpler time and use a flip phone, I must admit a smartphone is quite convenient. And switching to a flip phone isn't going to solve all of my problems or take the bulk of my stress away. I don't want to romanticize the 2000s. Obviously, the 2000s was not perfect and had its share of issues that should stay in the past. But what I do miss about that period is the creativity and individualism of products. I don't know how else to put it into words, but they don't make things fun like they used to. Everything looked so unique. Nowadays, the design for nearly everything is very minimalistic. Interior designs, apartment buildings, company logos, smartphones, you name it. Things felt more colorful in the 2000s. Being bold and extra was encouraged. I'm not going to lie. At first, I liked the sleek minimalistic look, at least for my home decorating because it looked clean and sophisticated. It made me feel like I had my life under control. But as consumer products have grown more minimalistic and eventually cutting corners, I began to miss the grit and personality that products and media from the 2000s had. But that's why I think it's important to make time and explore hobbies and passions, and also continuously create things. People should explore their artistic side, regardless of what they do for a living. I'm always inspired to see content creators of all sizes being innovative, exploring their passions, and sharing their work to the world. As someone who works full-time in corporate America, I have learned that it can be very challenging to make time for these endeavors. It's not just about limited time, but also limited energy. A full-time job can really drain you. And sometimes you need to use whatever free time you have left just to rest and recover. On top of that, society discourages us from wanting to pursue creative interests. So to those who still try and put themselves out there anyway, is very admirable and courageous, and I have the utmost respect for you. Maybe if we can start creating again, maybe we can bring the color back. Maybe we can bring back that magic that was once felt. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed listening to these classic ringtones as much as I did. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Were you ever invested in cell phone ringtones like I was? And if you were, did you have a favorite ringtone growing up? Do let me know in the comments. Thank you again to Tech Product Bangers, Phone Tones, every single obscure media archivist, and all of the artists who so kindly let me feature their work in this video. All of their socials are listed in the Google Doc I have linked in the description, as well as where you can find the Motorola commercials. YouTube limits the amount of links you can have in the description, so please check out the Google Doc and share your love and support to all of these wonderful creators. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. Considering global events and politics, I know things feel very bleak, and I know many of us feel afraid of what's to come in this year. I'm personally nervous for 2025 for both things within and beyond my control. But at least know that you're not alone, and I implore you not to lose hope. It's going to be okay. I know it may not feel that way right now, but no matter what is going on in your life, just remember that the sun will still rise, the sun will still set, and the earth will continue to spin no matter what's happening. I know a lot of this stuff is beyond our control, but the very worst case scenario is that it's going to be the end of the world and all life that we know will cease to exist. But as scary as that could be, it's all more of a reason to just go for it and pursue your passions. And if we do get to that point, and we are truly living in the absolute worst timeline, at least you could say, with your full chest, that you tried. At least you could go out with no regrets. So please, don't lose hope. It's going to be okay. And if we go down, at least we're all going down together, and we should go down swinging. I know the end of this video went on a different tangent, but thank you again for watching. I believe in you. Happy New Year. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.